Google I/O is the big conference for developers that Google puts on every single year around this time. And they announce a lot of new software and different updates for developers to be able to go out and develop. Blah, blah, blah. AI, blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to be talking about that much as the features, as much as I wanted to take a moment to really talk about the aesthetic. And I wanted to talk about how they really approached presenting everything, what they put on their slides, the new kind of approach that they have to their UI and their UX. I went ahead and I just grabbed a boatload of different screenshots from the presentation here. You can watch the keynote in full on YouTube if you go back and you just looked for Google I/O keynote. It's like an hour and a half to 2 hours, so it is quite long. I'm not gonna sugarcoat that for you, and there's a lot of real nerdy stuff in there. But the one thing that is ever present, and it's something that like was a little bit obvious in the beginning parts of when they were even advertising the conference, as they were looking for the different imaging that was going to go for the branding as you were waiting for the stream to start. You can see here they have icons of these different user applications that we a little talked about, but these were 3D and they were spinning. You can see here with the Android icon that they were actively moving things around. But then it also had this gradient style approach that kind of reminded me of the different icons that we had talked about in previous episodes. But actually, it ended up being this light and dark whites and blacks with just kind of an undertone of gradients for everything. So let me show you what I'm talking about. If you see Spark and stuff, that's all the different models that they just recently announced, which is agentic capabilities of being able to have people do things. You kind of go off and say, do this, and I'll come back to it later. And the way that they can try to visualize something that is so unphysical, because when you think about it, like all of this stuff doesn't really have any visuals to it. They're going really hard into this idea of these borders with Google colors, which is the blue, green, yellow, red, which is not the rainbow color, because you have red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet. They actually took out indigo, fun fact. But they don't have it just as rainbow, they have it as these Google colors, which is like these 4 big jumps. And they're using these as they are putting it in their icons. They're putting it around the sides of all of their kind of like imagery. They're sneaking it in onto both white backgrounds and black backgrounds. If you're looking at this icon and this bubble that they're having, you can see in many different places they are actually just having like white, and then it just cuts off, and they're using a shadow to bring that forward. It is this new style that is a little bit flat, a little bit 3D. I'm not sure if it has a name for it, but it was throughout the entire process. They really leaned on white and black, using colors only as hints of colors on the sides, as things that are coming in from the edges or radiating from the edges. We didn't get this big, gigantic color style that you used to see in the early 2010s, where we were getting these really strong screens, we were getting these really strong colors, we were getting cameras that could capture a lot more vibrancy and saturation, and they were really pushing that for a while. Now we are transitioning into this phase where that is the expected, that is the default, but now they're saying, okay, we are leaning on AI to be this thing that is invisible, but you still need to be able to represent it, and it also needs to be something that is very auditory focused and also isn't grounded in any sort of singular imagery that then is stronger than the thing that they are serving to you. They're using this near field vision focus and bringing things in and out in the same way that, guess what, they're expecting you to wear your glasses soon. But this idea of having everything in white, having these colors off to the side, and I think it looked really pretty. I think it worked well. It definitely added visual interest while staying very minimal and without being too boring. I do love color, so it was like a nice way to be able to highlight it and have them peek out behind stuff. But at the same time, it is a new approach, and I hope we just don't, lose color in its entirety. To that point, I know that we talked a lot about these icons and logos changing in the past, and our friend Tracy sent me a screenshot of her own screen because the icons that we talked about in my other reel actually started being rolled out to different people, and she said immediately she's having issue with her favorite screen because it really looks like slides here is a complementary thing to Meet. It looks like Sheets is complementary to Chat, Docs is complementary to Calendar, and you're losing that differentiation between having different services not feel like they are going with one another. I think that's a really nice transition to start talking about people's disgruntled connection with different updates to technology. So let's talk about your guys' total freak out over the Spotify logo. Basically, Spotify, if you're not familiar, normally looks like this. It has a circle with these 3 lines. They launched this disco ball version that looks very 3D, has little shiny bits to it, has different highlights on the outside of the edges, and then has cutouts of the actual lines in the disco ball itself. And it updated and put it on everyone's different iPhones and Androids to celebrate their 20 years as a celebratory thing. And people lost their freaking minds, guys, in a way that was disappointing, to be completely honest. I don't think it's the most beautiful icon, but I do really appreciate times when we had Winamp designs where even if they were ugly, you could add personality, you could have fun. Everything wasn't just this same minimal style that just is sans serif, little individual things. It's nice to have something that just doesn't look like everything else. I'm going to start a poll for you guys, and I'm going to say Spotify doing a limited release icon. And we're going to say yay or nay. This is coming from Rob Felt saying, love me a good disco ball, but Spotify, respectfully, this looks awful. And having it down here. They also had Dishonest saying, finally time to switch to Apple Music, which is wild. I mean, there's different reasons why you could maybe switch to Apple Music, but that is wild. This Lao person saying, Spotify, for the love of God, please, I'm begging. What is the disco ball? Please change it. It's ruining my aesthetic. It reminded me a lot of the icon changes that were significantly successful for apps like Duolingo, where they are taking the bird and they're changing the bird constantly to then have that grab your attention and say, hey, the app is updated, it's changed, maybe it's time to do another lesson. The rollout for it was really criticized, and Spotify came over to say, you know, we know glitter is not for everyone. Our temporary glow up ends soon. Your regularly scheduled Spotify icon returns next week. But it was wildly successful because everyone was talking about Spotify. Even if they were mad, all press is good press. Is that what they say? We ended our Spotify poll here, and you guys voted with just a slim majority that it was yay. So that was 53% yay, 47% nay. I'm fully here for it. We need to stop taking ourselves so seriously. People need to chill out. I saw a bunch of different news outlets talking about this new brand update. And so I went in here and I removed the icons to this fast food joint. And I wanted to see what you guys thought this brand was. This light blue and white. What do you think this brand is? Would you be surprised if I told you it was Wendy's? This is being rolled out internationally, and what they're doing is they're focusing on the blue of the bows and the collar of Wendy herself. I think red has really been associated with Wendy's for a very long time. My local Wendy's actually got a new coat of red just recently, so this isn't anything that we're going to be seeing in the US anytime soon. But when you then zoom out and you look at the competitors in the same space, you look at it and everyone is red. Now, red is a very appetizing color. We see it in a lot of branding over the years because it makes you hungry. It gives you the idea of food and warmth and saturation that is present in food that is appetizing. They've done studies where, like, if something is more green or purple, you're not going to want to eat it. But shout out to you, purple ketchup. Then you also have red, which is going to make you more appetizing. You see it in Coke, you see it in all these things. But if you look at all these, we've got Chick-fil-A, Five Guys, McDonald's, Burger King, and KFC all using red. And when you're going down the street, red isn't necessarily going to be the one that you're going to automatically associate with. And so I do think that maybe this is a strategic point to be able to then separate themselves from the competition and be able to also identify themselves as something different when you're going down the street. That said, I believe Sonic actually also is cyan, or this kind of light sky blue, so that they have that to go up against. But that is definitely a way smaller margin of competition than the other big hitters like McDonald's, Burger King, and the other ones. As we move on to our next story, you guys can then vote on this poll. I'm going to say Wendy's using blue as their primary branding color. We're going to say yay or nay. Our final results are Wendy's using blue as their premier branding color. 80% of you like it. 20% of you do not like it. This one is coming to us from the unexpected XP Labs. They normally make tablets and different drawing devices, but this is the XP Pen Pilot Pro. It's this mouse looking thing, and it is a video editing tool. It is a drawing tool. It's for beginners and for pros, they say. It's already for sale right now. I think it's $199. And it's a joystick controller that has haptic feedback with programmable buttons and ergonomic design. So you use your mouse in your right hand still, and you then use your left hand on the keyboard, and then this. So it says it has command buttons, it has A, B, C, D buttons, a rotary dial that has the ability to have haptic feedback. So it's going to vibrate, and you can change the vibration intensity as you're moving things. They also command buttons. You can set it up to do undo, redo. It has the high-speed dials, directional buttons, and then also precision knob. It also has the ability to use directional commands where if you like point up, you can then change a button to do something different, or to left, kind of like a video game. You're able to program the whole thing. It works with Premiere. It works with Photoshop and set up anything that you want to have here. You can see here as they're kind of scrolling through, they're roving through the time, and you can then program it to make it work for you. Like I said, it's $199. This goes in the same price range as those boxes that also do similar things, but have different ergonomic control. I personally use a vertical mouse, so this feels like another vertical mouse. It kind of start to feel like I am controlling a spaceship, which is fun. And you can see that it says you can speed up your workflow, extendable themes. They're making it so that you can even share this with other people online. You can see that it really has a lot of flexibility and be able to move, and it can move with color grading, among a bunch of different other ways you can edit stuff. I'm interested in getting one. If I get one, I will let you know. I know I've used some other stuff in the past where I've tried to have a secondhand thing and it never has taken off, but maybe this will finally be the one that I will train myself to use. This is announced earlier in the year, and they then followed up on it this week at Google I/O. It's the idea of having a heads-up display glasses that are getting notably smaller. I mean, those are still pretty bulky. You're going to notice them if someone's wearing them, which is good, but it is starting to really turn into a form factor where there is a capability to be able to have this heads-up display. In this case, they're using it as examples to be able to have translation live while you're walking around. It appears, I guess, to only do it on one eye, which I'm like interested how that works. They also now have a carrying case and a new compute puck, which means that they're taking all of this stuff and rather putting it on your head to make it heavy, you just put it in your pocket like a cell phone, and it's getting implemented with Android XR. They're working with Samsung and Qualcomm to make these all possible. I don't know how I feel about it. I would love them for being able to use them as a second monitor, especially if I'm on a flight or if I'm in a coffee shop. That case, I don't necessarily need the cameras for it. I do not want to lose privacy and have people have their face scanned and it not be a thing with privacy where they can then be like, okay, you don't know me when you know my name. Don't love that. But I do love the idea that if I'm at a party and I am wearing my prescription glasses and I forget someone's name, I don't have to do that really embarrassing thing where I like call them buddy and pal and then go from that. If I could just have a name tag, or for networking events, that would be really helpful. There's something really cool with this one where you can actually change the intensity of the tint, so you can bring it up or down depending on how much you want to see or how much you go through. And it can also then tell if someone else is walking in and you like look to them, and it can bring down some of the visual saturation and density of the on-screen lenses. I think that's also really good because I've never really liked VR because it feels like you're naked because you never know your surroundings. That's not coming until a little bit longer. They're still working on it. It's amazing the amount of progress that they've made through it. There's a whole nother conversation obviously about privacy and everything there. But what they were really proud to announce is the idea that they are working with Warby Parker and with Gentle Monster to create these new glasses. And just wanted to flag with you guys, these are the new ones that now have cameras on them. So these aren't going to have heads-up displays, but these are going to be very similar to the Meta glasses that are ever prominent. You probably don't notice, but they are around you, and they can take full-on videos, full-on pictures, and they then work with AI to then give you audio. So you then interact with them. You can say like, take a picture. You can ask for context about what you're looking at, among a bunch of other things. I am not endorsing this necessarily. As always, I am just mentioning that these are the technologies that are being implemented and sold. The Ray-Bans that are with Meta are performing monumentally successful with sales. So it's almost, and I know people hate this, but the train is moving. So I don't know how we respond to that train moving. I don't know if people want to find a way to take the rails off, but even if you don't feel like you have that power. These are the new ones that if you see someone wearing these, there is a good chance that there are cameras on them. So just look for them, familiarize yourself with them. There are really cool use cases here for creators and for people, but just like anything else, it can be abused and used poorly, and then we have a bad time. They are referring to these ones as intelligent eyewear rather than AI glasses. A very purposeful and intentional shift that they have, whereas these new ones are talking about them as intelligent eyewear. And I don't know if that is in response to bad marketing with AI or people's relationship with AI, but they are referring to them as intelligent eyewear, and they look like this. So keep your head up and just know what's going on. Then in YouTube news, YouTube Shorts are basically TikToks or Instagram Reels. If you're not familiar with them, they're the vertical videos, and these are now up to 2 billion hours of shorts are being watched on TV each month, which doesn't really make sense because they are vertical videos. And the living room says that it's become a major target for YouTube overall. US viewers alone are watching over 200 million hours of YouTube content every day. And it says YouTube shows shorts in search results from users watching on TV. So they might not even be searching out to get search for shorts, but they might end up on them and people are clicking on them. Recently, Google TV is implementing a short videos for you row on the Google TV feed. It is something that is already present on the Apple TV. As I am on the homepage and I'm scrolling down, I normally see side-by-side scroll of different shorts. And they have now updated the viewing experience to show comments besides the video to then work with the idea of having a more widescreen experience. They also are noting on this wonderful reporting by Amanda Silberling for TechCrunch that viewers watch over 700 million hours of podcasts each month on living room devices in 2025, and that's up from 400 million per month in 2024. So that's almost double in just a year. So it is all becoming way more of a thing to have YouTube on your TV. If you're watching me on TV, hey there, good to see you. Nice living room. And thank you for watching my content and everything that I have. You can follow me on YouTube at Ryan Selby. This is a huge update from Insta360. Insta360 announced these new Mic Pro set. They come in a different collection of ways that you can buy it. They are now also in the Insta360 ecosystem. So if you have a Insta360 camera, then you can just use it and it will automatically sync with it. You don't have to have the thing that then connects to your phone or connects to your camera. They are huge though, I will say. This is really big. So I mean, just like look at your hands and see how big this mic case is. And then also if you see it on the models here, one of the things that they're really touting is having a e-ink device on the front of it. So it's not just a logo. It's not just a black circle. You can actually change it with e-ink in the app to then be able to have like your logo for your show or something pop up while you're using the microphones. It has 32-bit float recording. It can record straight to the device. So if you lose connection with whatever you're recording on, then you can also use that. It has timecode support so that you can then easily sync it up to your videos. It works for 30 hours apparently, but then if it dies, it only needs 5 minutes to then only get 90 minutes back. 5 minutes charged and then get 90 minutes is pretty incredible. You can have up to 4 mics up to 1 receiver. You can also have multi-RX. There's also the ability to change the different modes it has. It has figure 8, which then works with the kind of the forward and backwards to get both sides. Directional, where it can then focus solely on the direction it's going and merge everything out. I mean, like I said, seems like a really big update. This seems like a huge piece of equipment for creators and for production flows alike. And this is one of the things where Insta360 is probably doing really well because now that DJI is no longer a competitor, they are then swooping in to then eat their lunch. Adobe has not asked me to feature this story. This is one that I just saw on their blog and I thought that it was an interesting thing to highlight. But this is from Paul Gretzi on the Adobe blog and it says faster workflows, precise creative control, and a more connected 3D pipeline. What is new in Substance 3D? And for Substance 3D, it is a painting 3D software that is part of the Substance package that gets you everything that you need to create really cool 3D UV mapping and painting onto works. It introduces expanded procedural controls. It has the shape splatter version 2 node for precise 3D shape scattering. It has a unified open PBR support. So Designer, Sampler, and Painter now integrate open PBR. It has faster creation in Sampler 6. So it accelerates material building with new ready-made templates for complex effects like fuzz or coatings or subsurfaces. photos. And then they also have a one-click ZBrush to painter workflow. So there's a send to feature that allows you to seamlessly transfer meshes directly from ZBrush into Substance 3D Painter in a single step. That way you don't have to move things all around and do with file management and worry about the different connections between creating something in ZBrush and then painting it in Substance Painter. Adam Savage was from Mythbusters, right? I think that's what it was. He also has a really cool YouTube page now, and he explores a bunch of different stuff. But he recently, says that the old poster designs for the national park posters got a nice 17-minute video. The first thing that they look at in the video is actually these different things that you put on your window to get into the parks. And they were actually originally really, really big, and they were becoming an issue because then they were obviously inhibiting sight control and being able to see where you're going, but people were collecting them and they were excited about them. So over the years, they've gotten smaller and smaller. And then in the 1930s, they ended up hiring Dorothy Waugh to create these posters. And it was the first time that really, rather than a use case and a means of needing design to achieve a goal, this was the first time that they were like, we are going to do this instead to just celebrate and advertise and market the parks themselves. And so they created a collection of posters. She actually created a bunch of different ones over her entire experience with the National Park Service. You can see here off of the Wikipedia page from 1934 to 1936, there is a collection of all of these different state parks. And she is actually originally an architect illustrator, I believe. Being able to get her to go from structural designs to then these like beautiful cowboys and these silhouettes of animals in front of these landscapes and being able to have them scalable to work with the confines of printing and the printing press of the 1930s is really beautiful. So some really incredible stuff. And this is What's Its Name from Elizabeth Goodspeed from It's Nice That. It was the idea of how now there is a trend to say, what aesthetic is this in working with any sort of visuals online? It says online images are increasingly treated less as a singular work, and now they are more considered to be a piece of a broader aesthetic puzzle, each with a distinct label. But what gets lost when creativity is compressed into searchable categories? And this is just really being expedited as well with AI, because AI systems are trained on aggregated online imagery, and it says that the flattened association become further reinforced through repetition. So when then things are then becoming fed into the machine and the machine is outputting it and then they're being fed back in, it then kind of condenses into this stronger condensed like mass of just like, this is a new keyword ability from Michael Oswell that says that the categories increasingly becomes the primary object of attention. Now, sometimes movements name themselves, like there is, Dada, where there's this story of like putting a knife through a dictionary and leading on Dada, which is hobby horse, It's like urban legend too. And you have all these other ones that then are naming themselves as part of the movement themselves. But then you have other ones that are named by critics or historians or institutions. It says that Fauvism began as an insult, but then later was accepted and then grown upon and was its own thing. It also says that label Art Deco emerged through a similarly top-down process. And now that we understand it as a coherent style, originally was a much looser set of tendencies circulating under broader terms like style moderne or style contemporary. Now, these are focused on different research papers, and they are things that have a lot of research behind them. But now it's also kind of getting to a point where the internet moves faster than any research paper sometimes can often keep up with. And so you get these new names that are kind of universally understood and even fed into AI systems or into different publications, and they haven't necessarily been vetted and academically associated. They just become culturally associated, which is also part of its own thing, because even before any of these research papers, Dadaism was part of just something that happened without research papers. So what's it to say? This is a guide to protect ourselves and to preserve what is good about turning data into visual things. We start with chart anatomy, then look at how small changes can shift a point of view. This takes up to misleading chart varieties, and we finish with reading data and next steps. What this is it's a really great collection of interactive elements that can really show you the different parts of ways that graphs can be manipulated and changed. The idea that generically you're kind of already making assumptions when you're looking at a chart, and then you actually should really take a much stronger look to then and be able to see what you're actually looking at, because anything can still say the right information and technically be accurate, where it can also still be deceiving because it looks much different. There's a bunch of different examples here, and being able to show how you might be manipulated, how you might inadvertently manipulate others on accident. So just want to check yourself from Flowing Data, and it's just flowingdata.com/projects/dishonest-charts. With 32% of the vote, guys, the winner for this week's Font of the Week belongs to Noka, which is a sans serif font, very round, but also has some really strong straight edges. Coming us from Danielle Sabino from Black Letra. It comes in 6 different weights, and it is a powerful geometric sans serif with a lot of personality. Its clean structure refers to more digital and technological atmospheres. Letters F, T, L are narrower than usual to create a distinct feeling, with diagonal strokes of letters V and W and A are parallel. Congratulations to Noka. Sites we lost is just what it sounds like. It says that some sites we linked from the button don't exist anymore. Some expired, some were squatted by gambling rings, some got ad injected on top of that, what they were. So they archived what they could and were possible, and hosting the sites right on this. And then finally, just a little creative tour for you is NoomaLooma. And this is creative prompts that come to you every day for completely free, no in-app purchases from what I could see. And this really cool website that they have to then experiment it. It says that it is scientifically good for your brain to make things every day. So trade scrolling for 3 minutes of creative play. No likes, no algo, no pressure, just something genuinely yours. It's available for iPhone, and you can just check it out as NoomaLooma. I'm going to be trying it out, and I'll let you guys know what I think. If you guys would be so kind, follow me on Instagram as Ryan Selvey. I just posted a cool link about the graphics at the Sphere, and also follow me on YouTube, Ryan Selvey on YouTube as well. So thank you guys so much. We'll be back here same time, same place next week for File New. Do me a favor, also give me a follow or a listen on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. And when you do, give me a 5-star rating, because it helps with the algorithm. Thank you guys so much for being here, and we will see you all next week. Thanks for watching. Bye.